good morning. Welcome back to Talking Racine. This is Mr. George Myers.
Morning.
This is Mr. Jim Spodek. I'm Dr. Ken Yorgan, your host. And the show today is going to be a continuation of what we covered last week, and it concerns the lawsuit that Alderman Sandy Widener is involved in with the city over some emails and whether or not they are confidential, whether they're sensitive, whether they're privileged, so on and so forth. And we've now been able to examine all of the emails that have been released by the court. You know, there were 18 in total that were like sequestered or closed, and now there are, was it 5 that got released?
Yeah.
But there was one was a duplicate.
Right.
And we were able to review them, and quite honestly, why were they considered confidential to begin with? I mean, it's really just ridiculous in our estimation. But we've come to the conclusion, insofar as 10 of the emails that were closed down were sent to Mr. George Myers. 2 were sent.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate those
2 were
emails,
sent
folks.
to Dennis Monty. Dennis has got that, well, he was very, very instrumental in the Stop the Arena project. And only 1 was sent to you.
Yep.
But I think that you carry more prestige than anyone else, because there's a remark about you right here. It presents a tremendous danger and risk to the city for Mr. Spodek to have access to confidential and/or privileged communications.
Now that was read out of what was put on the record, I believe, in Scott Letney's motion to the court of why these emails are being abused. It's because it was sent to a person. How did you say he represents a danger, a tremendous danger and risk
to the city.
That is the way that evil guy over there.
Well, I've got something to say about that. If you were a danger and a risk, and you had actually done something illegal or unethical, why aren't they coming after you?
Good.
Yeah.
Why the heck are you allowed to persist out in the community with this factually challenged talk show that we run?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it does. It says emails believed to Jim Spodek, another co-host of Talking Racine.
Well,
it looks like they're watching you, Jim.
You're not a risk. You're not a risk to ethical behavior, is what I'm going to say. You are a risk to the cover-up that's going on down at City Hall.
I agree with you.
That's what you're endangering.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a confession of malfeasance on the part of the city attorney.
Here's what it says about Talking Racine, folks. It says, an internet political talk show whose focus is to criticize local Racine government and its officials.
Well, I resent that.
That was here for 4.
Yeah. I'd like to say right now, you know, that's not our sole focus and not our sole purpose. And right now I'd like to say, you guys down there at City Hall, you're doing a bang-up job. Don't you guys agree?
You know what? I like the fact
you
that
guys are wonderful.
They actually put our link into it, www.talkingracine.com.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. Thank you.
It's on a record. Official public record.
Oh, man.
You know, and you know,
of course it was sealed, so we didn't get much publicity out of it, but now we might.
Yeah.
Well, we can tell everybody where we are.
We're here. Oh, man.
And the thing is the materials that we get is produced at City Hall. I mean, it's not like we're making this stuff up. It's not like this is create your own show to create your own issues. When we talk about Machinery Row, and what we spend a lot of time on, it's not to criticize the government. It's just to expose. In fact,
to protect the citizens.
Yeah, it says it likes to generalize it. Criticize local Racine government. I don't. It's individuals within the government.
It says George Myers, among other things, is a co-host of Talking
Amongst
Racine.
other things, yeah.
What are those other things, George? An internet political talk show whose focus is to criticize local Racine government and its officials. No.
So
we investigate things that obviously there is no other news source in Racine that hasn't been here for 30 years that actually does investigate anything. It looks
you can't criticize the Journal Times for that, I guess.
Yeah, well, they haven't.
Yeah.
So
well, and that criticism.
I hope the Journal Times is watching it. You know, you didn't get listed here And I don't know if you're getting any emails from City Hall, but if you are, they weren't put on the list of emails that were abused.
Well, there was one. I think they did get one.
Did they get one?
The Journal
Okay.
Times. I'll
All
give them
right.
that credit.
So you get.
But the fact is, we can kind of break these down a little bit, and I'd like to kind of break them down a little bit of why we asked. First off, asked for the emails. Second off, and what was the reason we asked for them?
Yeah,
I think we
absolutely. But before we delve into that, I just want to make one quick statement. That is that this is a condemnation of you too, because you're watching us, and people like this show. People appreciate it. I mean, they come up to us all the time and say, "You guys are doing a great job," and thank you. So now, that means that you're obviously delusional in the minds of the city attorney, whoever.
Now, what do you do watching this show?
Anyway, let's
in danger.
Yeah, danger junkies.
Who you participating with?
Are you getting an adrenaline rush out there?
Watch your
Birds
show,
of a
it's
feather
risky.
flock together. So
Well, let's head right over to the emails.
don't consider yourself innocent anymore.
Oh my God.
You got some of those emails there?
Well, I got I printed off what was released and they're redacted, but we got a pretty good idea what they are. I mean, it was obviously I think 3 of them, George, were sent to you, and 2.
No, I was getting some dangerous information. Now, I know one of them. I just tell you, we're not going to read the whole darn thing. But remember, there was a special election came up for mayor. Ticker left, and there was the new special election. So they had to figure out what day it was going to be held. And what Scott Letney did is he went out and he picked the days that were possible to actually start the process, and reasons why you could or couldn't do it.
Filing deadlines and
or
stuff
clerk,
like that.
the city clerk wouldn't be there on that day, so you couldn't do it on that day, or there was an automatic meeting, or there was something. So you narrowed down from 20 possible dates down to 2 or 3.
And it's helpful information. I mean, a citizen should have that information.
How you're going to pick this date. Yeah. That was considered confidential information that the public wasn't supposed to know about.
Right.
Huh?
Well, you weren't supposed to.
Right.
All right. Well,
again, I'll go back to the fact that this was not about protecting the citizens or protecting the city. It was about who these emails were sent to. That's exactly
and that's what I want to get into. It could, because otherwise there is no reason in God's green earth that you would not allow people to see that. I mean, and it was only because. Well, that's Jim's scenario, is that because it was sent to me, that made it abusive use of that email. That I should know, or that people like me should know, on what possible days the election could be held.
Let's just go through
what about the Dittman study?
There's another one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The Dittman study was a study that came in and investigated why, among other things, why we were having a difficult time retaining employees in the engineering and nursing departments down at City Hall. And it was based upon that study, if I'm remembering correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, based upon that study, the director of finance, Dave Brown, came in and said, we need to get some money out of the reserve fund. It was not scheduled in the budget, and this is like a late in the year kind of an appropriation that he's asking for, and it was, what, $3 million?
$3.1 million.
$3.1 million taken out of the reserve fund so that we can keep these quality employees employed here in the city. They won't be traveling off to other areas. And then what happened after that $3 million was appropriated? What happened, gentlemen? I think we've gone over this before.
Yeah,
but
we have. They took out $3.1 million out of the reserve fund, asked, and just basically took it and gave raises to all the department heads, and healthy raises. Yeah. I believe Dave Brown got $9.
The major one was Dave Brown.
The
one brought up
between $9 and $10 an hour.
And also saw at the top level, like Scott Letney, got good, nice raises. Yep. Well, how about the mechanics and the nurses?
The engineers.
Yeah.
How about they got about 25 cents an hour.
50 cents an hour.
Yeah.
That was what came out in an email, or somebody got the information and passed it along. Did I get that? I remember getting that information.
Yeah. The Dittman study came to you because we wanted to know who got what. Yeah. And when it comes out, it was the upper management or department heads that got great raises. I mean, $9, $10 an hour. And the guy that was plowing the streets and the mechanics and the nurses, they were pittance.
And you know what? Here's the thing, too, and this for folks. if there's anything that you should know about, the public should know about, it's that type of information. That's what the open records laws are all about.
How they're spending your money.
Yeah, it's not so much the thing about, whether the streets got plowed in front of somebody's house. It's things like that. And that is the type of thing that Scott Letney and company and Dave Brown want to keep secret.
Yeah. They have a great rate.
Especially want to keep out. I'm on the list of that one.
Yeah.
Especially keep out of hands, because I might go on a show like
here you are talking about it
and
again.
Talking about it. Ooh, and then now I'm criticizing the government, and people in government.
Well, what else we got? We got another one.
Keep it up, Myers. You'll be dangerous too someday.
Yeah, you can work up to my level.
Oh, the origins of the RDA.
Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, I remember asking. Yeah,
you asked that question. How did this get started?
How did it come about?
Yeah,
and there was some really good information came out from Scott Letney. He put out the meeting that was actually voted on, showed the law and what it was, and that was really good information, because if we want to undo it, well, there it is. There's the way you want to do it.
He's capable of doing good things.
Yeah, that was good information.
Yeah.
It was.
All right?
Yep.
I don't know why
But
he gets caught up in all
unfortunately,
this
it was
other
not
crap.
something that he wanted me to know and the public to know, because otherwise we might get up there and talk about it and do something about it.
Well, we asked about the RDA, and actually that RDA not only came to you, it also came to another fellow named Dennis Monte.
Ooh, Dennis got a hold of it.
Dennis got a hold of it.
Oh, that's a double.
I'm going to play a quick
damn
clip
thing.
here of Dennis speaking at the RDA, or speaking at the Common Council.
Oh, good.
Because the RDA at that time, and when this email was sent, the arena project was on the forefront, and we were asking, where is this money coming from? We're spending $600,000 on a study, and he kind of nails it. So,
Well, and pay close attention to what he's saying, how he's saying it, and what the response is from behind the big desk up in the front of the room.
Ooh, you're going to like the last part of this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Dickert, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Just a couple of notes. You all know where I stand on the arena project, and to be perfectly clear, I'm not against the arena in concept. What I am against is the thousands and millions of dollars of investment from the taxpayers that's being spent on this that should be shouldered by developers, private developers. A report on the petition is going very well. Now, despite claims that there's overwhelming support for this arena project, we are having a 90% success rate in soliciting signatures. And part of the people that do not sign are not signing because they either support the spending and are afraid if it goes to referendum, it'll fail, or there's language barriers, or they're not eligible voters. So that's where that stands. How much has been spent so far? We're not getting any figures. I mean, there's money that keeps dribbling through the RDA, and you approve $600,000. There was money approved for a previous study, but how much? Can we get a quantification of exactly how much money has been spent so far to bring us to this point before we decide on spending more money? And can we have the assurance that that money isn't going to continue to keep dribbling through from various sources prior to the authorization for phase 2? Because what we're doing is we're spending a lot of taxpayers' money to sell us on this project, and the facts are not forthcoming. And I think it's owed to the public. Mayor Dickert has been collecting a payroll from the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway Water Consortium now for a month, almost a month. At what point can we expect him to vacate his position so that we can start getting this ship of state back operating under whoever's going to...
Mr. Monte, one of the things that we talked about in the conversations the council had about this is staying with facts. So I'd suggest that you please stay with facts. Stay with facts, please.
Question. And my third thing, in the last 56 seconds that I have here, is in the RDA's and the city's unfair dealings with tenants at Machinery Row, one person who filed an appeal at the state level has resulted in a 3-page decision against the city and the RDA for damages for relocation. These are facts. All of you received them in your email box. Conservative estimates are that this person is probably going to should receive a settlement in around the $300,000 to
Mr. Monty, we're going to ask you to stay with facts, please, again.
I am staying with facts. This is from the guidelines from...
It's the last time I'm going to ask. It's the last time I'm going to ask. Time's up. Thank you very much.
You told me to get the facts I have. Because you don't like them does not make them non-factual.
Shut up, Dennis. I'm cutting off your mic.
Okay, one other one. Professional services. That was another email that was
Oh,
released.
yes.
And that was...
I hope we don't get too hairy on this one.
Which?
To get permission from the council to spend money on professional services. And part of the professional services is hiring attorneys. Now, it specifically says that when the professional services are provided by attorneys who charge an hourly basis, or by another group, I'll just leave that all, where the aggregate fee exceeds $50,000. In other words, it gets hired without a contract, but they're being charged an hourly rate, which in this case was $350 an hour.
Yeah. Well, they have the discretion to spend up to $50,000 before they bring it to the council, is the way I'm reading that,
right,
correct?
That's what it says. 50, and if it goes over, once it gets up to $50,000, then they must go to the council to spend any more.
Or if it's anticipated that it'll be more, they should also.
Well,
Right.
all right.
Yeah.
If you don't know about that, apparently you got there's this gray area where if you say, okay, we're just hiring for $350 an hour, and we think it's going to be $5,000, something like that. Don't have to get permission. But if you know it's going to be more than that, then you need to get permission, according to the way this reads. Now, if it goes over 50, though, at that point you have to stop. So the point is that these fees for Sandy Widener's case, Jim, and that's where this gets to be really, really interesting, because there's been no permission granted for that. No. And just on the motion to dismiss alone, or the motion challenging alone, they've already admitted to $17,000.
Right.
All right. And estimates are that over the thing entirely, might be over $100,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But here's.
But by the way, that information was considered confidential. No one was supposed to know that type of information, and that was sent. That was sent to me again.
Yeah.
See? And that's where we're saying, wait a second. You know, it's funny that Talking Racine is included in this, and that these things that would normally be in fact, that's part of the ordinances. What I'm reading you now is not, it's section 46-39, procurement of professional services. 46-39 is a section of municipal ordinances. That is not confidential information.
No. Well, and really, you should be able to access that on your own. But I mean, what's the city attorney for? You ask
him to shortcut that.
Yeah.
Does it exist?
But you work in this world. What's the situation here?
Right.
Could you explain it to me? And he could say to you, well, it's available in such and such a place, and you can go and find it there, I suppose. Right. But he did provide it to you, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him providing that to you, and there's nothing wrong with you sharing it with other people.
Right,
or with an alderman sharing it with you.
Right. It did not get that going to me directly, and
now this was one of the things, one of the emails that was considered to be confidential and sensitive information that should not be dispersed to the public by an alderman.
And
that's the point right there.
Yeah. And the court came back and said, "Well,
first he sealed it. He sealed it.
These were sealed.
It went up to the appeals court. The appeals court looked at all of them, and they were seeing things like this and said,
"You
please reconsider." Yeah, you want to check those out. So far, we've got 5 of them. There's been 12 that were released though.
There's there's 18 total, and there's 5 released, so we got 13 that are still sealed. You know, and there's a kind of a roster of what they are, and there's nothing on there that should be sealed. There's absolutely nothing. There's no confidentiality at all. It goes right back to who the information was given to, and that's the bottom line. And if you want to go into where the transcript where we talk about Alderman Widener, saying that there was some, in her affidavit, she stated there was some possibility or witch hunt, really, for her running for mayor. And the judge comes back and states, I don't know if you got it.
Here's what he says.
That was her opening complaint, her opening
hearing.
Yeah, and the court rejects, and this is Judge Kaskevich, the court rejects that claim by hers. Her affidavit is filled of that this is a personal vendetta by the city attorney because she was running for mayor.
Right.
All right. And now the judge says there's not one scintilla of evidence in the record.
He wouldn't do that.
And really, Miss Widener, I want to tell you, this gentleman, that's referring to Scott Letney. That's very nice. That's a very nice statement about Scott Letney. This gentleman works at the pleasure of the Common Council. All right. And that is where the judge, I think, is a little bit of a Pollyanna type of thing, that everything's nice and hunky-dory over there at City Hall and there's no politics being involved with this. Politics is what gets these people in their positions at City Hall. And particularly when you get to the alderman and the upper level of the activity, like the city attorney and like the heads of the departments. Politics is part and parcel of government, and politics is going to take place over there, whether you like it or not. That's just the nature of it.
Right.
And power plays. I mean, the whole thing is to accumulate power, hold your position, and in government, and maintain that position. That's it's been known for decades that the primary interest of anybody elected official is to get reelected. That's their number one goal.
Exactly.
and
because they want to serve,
and that involves politics, and so politics is part and parcel to everything they do, including the people that get these appointments at very high level in government, what's called the sub-government, so it's like for the judge to think that there is no politics being involved with this at all is, like I say, a little bit of Pollyanna.
Well, that's exactly what they're doing, is going after. And so when you talk about politics, this is dripping with politics. It has been. None of this stuff is confidential information. This is all bogus. And you've got a judge who now bought into it, and he got his hand slapped. Because if Widener and her attorney had not filed an appeal, this would be salted away and considered to be confidential, and your email receipt of having to find out when the mayoral election is, or how much money is spent, or what's the origins of the RDA, I mean, that would be all sealed away as this top secret information. Yeah. And one of the things I want to bring up is the fact that the confidentiality statement that was on the emails that you received, George, states if there were these things happen. And they've changed. Now they've gotten to the point now where no one, by receiving anything with a confidentiality statement for the city of Racine, can pass it along to anyone else.
Yeah, the words used to be, it may be confidential, and now, what does it say? Should be considered to be confidential?
Yeah, now it went from the electronic transmission may contain work product or information protected under the attorney-client privilege. All right, it may contain either of those, both of which are protected from disclosure. So it's up to the alderman to decide whether or not there was something that was confidential or protected from disclosure.
It was just an alert.
It was an alert. Now it was changed to the information and that's interesting because the attorney Scott Letney just put a warning in there. All right. Now he's changed it so this is how things come out in the emails. The information contained in this email, including in all attachment, is legally privileged and confidential and is intended for the specific delivery to and use by the individual to which it is addressed. So now everything is considered confidential, including this one that I got
well,
right here.
Well, he wants it to be.
Yeah.
This is an argument.
That's what's considered.
This is a danger.
No, listen, here's the email that I got with the message on it. I looked at the property and the porch looks good. I will contact the courts in regards to this matter. I couldn't even forward that on, according to this, to the owner of the property because I was trying to get some information.
Yeah.
It's no longer, it could be. That statement that I just read you is confidential and may not be sent to anybody.
But this is what you call a lockdown in government.
And that's all he's doing is Scott Ledney is closing the doors on communication between City Hall and
you know, one of the things that I've noticed is, I know, Doc, you had occasionally been texting with the head of the Common Council, Jason Miekma, and apparently now he has completely cut off communications, completely, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I haven't heard back from him on the last time I sent him a communication, so possibly there's something involved with this confidentiality.
It's dangerous now for an alderman or anybody in City Hall to transfer information. I got one other one where I was talking about a cleanup and I was complaining about all the snow, and the person said, okay, we'll give you an extension for a week because it's all stuff covered with snow. Stay warm.
See, and there's a HIPAA violation right there. Because that's your personal health information has to do with your body temperature.
There it is. But I mean, it's like the communication lines between City Hall are being shut down.
Yeah.
That is a good sign of attorney, and an opening thing that you put on the screen, Jim, at the beginning of this program. Those are the warning signs, and here they are, folks. It's right here.
Yep.
Well, this would be a good time to let you guys know that I have created a Confidentialist of the Year award.
Yeah, who that?
For that person who has done the most to create confidentiality and secrecy in local government. And it's going to be an award given out, and I think it's probably going to become known by the initials that it goes by. The Confidentialist of the Year award is the CYA.
Well, that's good. See the CYA, huh?
Yeah.
I know you're going to have this. You're going to have the stand. It's going to be a pair of buns.
Yeah, with a curtain in front of it. And
with a squirt hiding it.
I would like to tell you guys who the nominees are, but it's confidential.
Okay. Now I got another question.
All right.
Is this an embarrassment to the Common Council, the members of the Common Council? I mean, at some point you're a representative of your constituents, and you now are literally shut off.
If they're not embarrassed, then we got to go and do another HIPAA violation and go see if they have a pulse.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and it's unfortunate if you're an alderman and you're, or actually a lower level, any level of person in the government. I mean, it's like you can't communicate. At least you better do it with phone calls.
Is this the new culture? Is this the new culture at City Hall now? This is the new culture?
Yeah.
Everything is on lockdown. I'll tell you, one of the things I think that really kind of broke this open was the fact that the media organizations came on board with the appeal. And and otherwise, this information would stay right in this little community. You don't have the...
You're talking about the Widener case going national.
Yes, it went national, and that's the reason why we're
that was a big break for the city, and hopefully we can take and parlay that into something bigger by getting these notifications off these emails where people can once again
transparent government, George.
Yeah.
Honest, transparent government.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it should be, and you will find that your city will prosper when everybody gets involved. Because right now, I mean, I always call it limousine liberals. We're going to control. We'll make sure everything's okay. And what we do over here, you don't need to know. That type of stuff.
Well,
we'll take care of you.
Yeah, we're going to take care of you.
Yeah,
Don't worry. We asking for information. I mean, we can't get it. And why is that? Because they don't want you to have it. Because you have too much information. You're going to ask too many questions, and there may be something there that we're questioning, or there might be something that's actually great that isn't utilized. I mean, there's so much that can be done when you're.
The keys to getting these barriers torn down is honest and open and transparent government. That's just point. Every tyranny relies on secrecy to continue its existence.
Yep.
And I put it right at the feet of Scott Letney and his boss. There's only one person over him, and he's got to be cooperating with this, and that's Corey Mason.
Yeah.
And for those two to be at the top, making sure that people underneath them are hindered and crippled in their operation is important, because otherwise the whole castle starts to crumble.
Yep. Well, that's why people like this little effort that we're putting out here, Talking Racine, because we're talking. We're not afraid to talk, and it's empowering other people to have discussions and to be interested in their community and interested in what their government is doing, holding people accountable, and demanding that they be informed as to what is going on. That's the big problem. If you don't know what's going on, things can happen around you that could be very, very dangerous to you, economically, even physically. George, I understand you got a couple of news bits you'd like to
Oh, yeah, I get to do a couple. Oh, yeah,
do a couple.
Yeah, these are just a couple things that have come up recently. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but and these came from the Journal Times. Foxconn cost estimates increase. So the village expenditure now, we've been talking about $763 million, is Mount Pleasant is now up to $912 million. So another $150 million.
Closing in on $1 billion for the village.
$1 billion for Mount Pleasant.
Yeah. You got another one.
Do another one yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Officials ponder streetlight locations. Remember when the streetlights went down to save money? That was 1,010 streetlights gone. Darkening the streets. Well, they're looking at putting some of them back, and we're up to 20, and we're thinking about it. So
well, that shows they're being responsive to the citizens.
Again, it's
20 of them might come back. It's just.
You know what, George? You don't get in the condition and where we are in a city by accident. It's done. It's done this way. This is the way it's been done. You keep everything quiet, don't talk about it. I mean, we're going to take this away from you, but then we're going to squeak a little bit back. You make it look like we've done something for you. I mean, we're in control, you're not. And that kind of mentality is, I think, across the board in the city of Racine.
Well, we got something coming up here that we need to mention, and that's the primary election. And there's going to be 2 aldermanic districts that have primaries in them. It's the 13th and the 1st. Yeah, so if you're in the 1st district or the 13th district, each of those districts have 3 candidates so far. And when is the primary election? Is it the?
I think it's February 12th. But yeah, I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
that's coming up.
Get my check. Yeah, it's coming up fast.
Only a couple weeks away.
The 13th, by the way, Taylor Avenue. If you're down in there, that's on the 13th. The 1st is basically downtown. It's close to downtown. So that's Jeff Coe is running. He's the incumbent, and the 13th, the incumbent. Morgan Roth is declined. He's not running. Right. So there's 3 new people.
So if you're in those districts, get out there and start paying attention.
Good idea.
All right. That's it for today. Thank you for being here. It's been a joy and a pleasure spending some time with you. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week.